Hey everybody, this is Kimberly and you're watching Thriving on a Budget. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about cooking with food storage. Um, Things are starting to pick up again, unpredictability and whatnot, and I think it's a really good idea to know how to use the staples in your pantry. So I'm going to talk to you about some of my favorite food storage cookbooks. I'm going to talk to you about a free way that you can prep some of these ideas, as well as some non-conventional things you can do with your food storage. So let me show you what I got. So two of my favorite food storage books of all time. This is called Cooking with Home Storage by Peggy Layton. Genuinely anything written by her is pure gold. It really is. This is someone who really knows how to cook with staples, and she's got awesome recipes in here. She has recipes how to make vegetarian style meat out of grains. She's got some good recipes, and a lot of the things in here, if you're someone who preps, if you're someone who's big into food storage, if you're someone that has a lot of staples, things like that, most of the recipes in here, you would probably have those kinds of things in your home anyway. It's just really creative things that I would have never thought of. Let me just kind of flip through. She's got recipes for like homemade wheat thins. She's got recipes for, oh my goodness, all kinds of stuff. Homemade cereals. And I don't even remember half the things that she put in here. Crepes, angel food cake. Sometimes there's like, if you have dehydrated fruits and people don't necessarily know, like, okay, what can you do with this? If you have like dehydrated bananas, like eating dehydrated bananas is gross. I hate banana chips. But if you can actually soak them, rehydrate them, mash them up, and make things like banana bread with them. So super awesome book. If you can find this online, they have a handful of these on Amazon. They're like $15. Awesome book. I've had this for like 6 years and it's my absolute favorite. You can literally cook anything with this book. Another one that I really like is the Gifts in a Jar or Meals in a Jar series. So here's one of the ones I really like. It's Gifts in a Jar, the soups one. So I have a handful of these, and a lot of these books you can sometimes even get at thrift stores. My Gifts in a Jar ones I got at thrift stores. It was, I don't know, I guess I luck out sometimes when I go to the thrift store, but it has recipes like, okay, so if you have mason jars, since a lot of people have mason jars but can't find the sealing lids, if you get some of those little plastic lids like they have on Amazon, you can get it for like 10 or 12 bucks. Okay, you have the jars, you can screw those lids on, you can make dry mixes, you can make muffin mixes, you can make soups, things like that. I think my two favorite soups that are in this one is the minestrone one, because it makes an insane amount of soup. Okay, so if you have one of those really big, I don't remember what they're called, big pots. I can't think of the correct word. Sometimes people process their canning jars in them, even if it's not the right kind. What is that kind of pot called? I can't think of it. Stock pot. Stock pot. So if you have a nice tall stock pot, like the minestrone one will fill like the big stock pots. So if you have a big family, like some of the soups in this are just absolutely awesome. Another one that I really liked was their taco soup one. That was super smart. They did some really creative things like putting crushed tortilla chips in it, and for a citrus component using a little bit of dried lemonade mix. Like, just interesting things. So also really good ones you can find online are the Gifts in a Jar books. So that is if you want ideas of how to cook with your food storage and you have a little bit of money to spend. If you don't have money to spend, I've been there too. In that case, a free way you can prep recipes for cooking out of your cupboard in case things are tight, or in case we start to have shortages at the store again. Whatever happens this year, it's 2020. Anything can happen this year. This is my little recipe box. And you could do this with a notebook. You can do this with whatever you want. But this was a wedding present that I got from my brother amongst like 12 other things. He really spoiled us. But it's a little recipe box with little index cards in it. And so whenever I find recipes I love, I write them down. You know, this is not a new concept. This is things that your mother did, your grandmother did, your great-grandmother did. But, you know, we have Pinterest and we have the internet all the time, and so we kind of take stuff like this for granted. But if there was an emergency, you might not have Pinterest. So what I do is I write down all my favorite ones. I have one for a pizza crust recipe. I have pumpkin bread in here. I have how to make those Navajo fry bread to do the Navajo tacos. That's so easy. So this is a free prep that you can do today. Is if you have food storage and you're trying to anticipate what's going to happen later this year, but you don't necessarily know how to cook some of the things, or you want ideas on how to have variety amongst what you do have, start looking up recipes today, guys. Pinterest, Google. If your mom or your grandma has some favorite recipes, see if you can copy some of those down. This is going to be super helpful so you don't just eat the same thing all the time if you have to eat things out of your pantry a lot. It's nice to have recipes rather than having to guess and guess wrong, or you know what I mean? So this is one of my favorite things. Next level, I was going to talk to you guys about unique ways you can use your food storage that you might not have thought about. Okay, one of them is you can make vegan milk. Okay, my family, a handful of my family members have dairy allergies. And sometimes, you know, this last year we saw when stores kept running low on milk. So a thing you can actually do, hopefully that's not, sorry, I'm trying to hold the phone and hold things and I'm trying not to make a mess. This is homemade oat milk that I made this last week, and it's actually really good. So this is, yet again, my best attempt, my interpretation. There's people who I'm sure are much, much better at this than I am. But I realized it would probably be a good idea, since my family does have a few people with dairy allergies, to learn how to make vegan milk. And depending on what you make it out of, it can be pretty cheap. So this, I was actually really surprised by the texture. So what I did is I filled it around half full with dry oats. And then you boil some hot water and fill it with hot water all the way to the top. It's going to expand like crazy. I actually ended up needing a second jar. And these are those lids I was telling you about. Those plastic reusable lids. These are not sealing kind you would use for water bath canning. Obviously not. But these are nice if you do freezer jams. These are nice if you do your own dry mixes for brownies and muffins and soups and whatnot. These are nice to have, especially like a year like we're having. For a year like this. But yeah, so I ended up, this is one of the 2 jars that I ended up being able to make out of just about half of a quart mason jar of oats. I poured hot water over it and I left it like all day. Left it on the counter, just let it soak. And then I threw it in my blender and I had to add more water because dry oats soak up water like crazy. So I had to add more water to this, processed it through my blender, and it actually pulverized it way better than I thought it would. A lot of people, if they do make their own oat milk or rice milk, that's not too bad either, but this was easier. For me, I think this was easier, especially if you don't have, what is it called? A nut milk bag or cheesecloth. This was a decent enough texture that I didn't really have to sift it. I tried, mind you. I did try. I don't have a nut milk bag, but I have cheesecloth, and I was trying to hold too many things at once, and I didn't realize how heavy and thick the original blended product was going to be before I added more water to dilute it. And my husband was just laughing at me because I kind of spilled some of it on the counter. But I watered it down, and we decided that for my taste and my husband's taste, this was a decent texture without being filtered, because it ended up being kind of thick and creamy. Like, this would actually be a really good base for smoothies. So I was actually okay with it. This wasn't super chunky, but I imagine if I was to try the rice milk, I would need better filtration. So in this case, at least what I used, I believe I used old-fashioned oats. I used the kind that you can get from Walmart in the little cardboard canisters for like $1.50. That's what this was. And like I said, this after I diluted it to a thickness that I enjoyed, it ended up filling 2 of these quart things. I put honey in it as a sweetener because a lot of people like sweetener in their vegan milks. Obviously, you would not put honey in it if you were giving this to someone who's under a year old because they can't have honey. But another sweetener that some people use is like dates or raisins or something. So if you do have a nut milk bag or cheesecloth or something and you want to actually filter this out, there's that option. So you can put raisins or dates or something, pulverize the heck out of it, and then strain it so you have just the liquid. That's a way to add sweetness without adding honey, if you're planning on giving this to younger children. So not too bad. I was a pretty big fan. And like I said, this is a way that I can use oatmeal differently than just having a regular bowl of oatmeal every day. If I wanted a smoothie, if I wanted something kind of thick and creamy, this was way thicker than I expected, and it's actually not too bad. Like I said, you could add white sugar to it if that's what you want to do. I chose to add honey, and not a ton. Like, 'cause I actually don't mind the mellow flavor. Neither does my husband, but this is pretty good. So that's something to think about, is that you can actually make vegan milk out of oats or rice. Obviously nuts and things like that too. I think oats and rice are things that more people have on hand because nuts can be more expensive. Another interesting thing I've been experimenting with lately is sprouting. And I believe I showed you guys on one of my previous videos my sprouter that I have. Yet again, something you can get online at Walmart. I got mine at like a camping supply store. It was with like the emergency supplies because, like, mini instant garden, so you can get nutrition indoors. But I'll show you what I have in there right now. So normally most sprout-like things, what you have is you soak them overnight, like your lentils or your seeds or your beans or whatever it is you're going to sprout. Soak them overnight, dump out the water, rinse them, and then you put them in a sprouter container. You can get a sprouter like this, or they even have sprouter lids that you can put on mason jars. But what you want to do is rinse them every day and then put them back in their sprouter so they can be clean. They're not having a chance to mold, because if you sit them too long and don't rinse them, they can and will mold. And then you want them to have a chance to kind of breathe and warm up and start to sprout. So lentils, if you're sprouting lentils, you can eat those raw. That's not a big deal. What I sprouted in here was actually wheat. In the case of wheat, I would not encourage you to eat wheat sprouts raw. I would encourage you to cook those, just because wheat can build up bacteria. And with that being the case, most people who sprout wheat will actually mash it and put it in bread or bake it as a sprout before they put it on food, just to avoid eating something that might spoil, I guess. So to avoid the bacteria, you might want to bake this. But look at that, as I almost drop it. So this is wheat sprouts. And see, these aren't even like, ooh, fancy wheat berries I got from, no, these are from the LDS cannery. I got a big thing of wheat kernels from them like 5 or 6 years ago. So this is not even like fresh out of the anything. This is not from our organic store. This is from the LDS cannery. And it's 6 years old and it's sprouting like crazy. And this is after 3 days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake those so I can put them on a salad or something. But you also could like mash it up if you wanted to make like your own Ezekiel bread, something like that. But yeah, things to think about. Like, who knew that you could sprout really old wheat or turn oats or rice into milk? But these are the kinds of things that you might want to be thinking about, is what can you make with your food storage and how can you use it in ways that you're not going to get bored with it. Anyhow, I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys are staying safe and having a wonderful day. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.